Rise up, Red Stallions. What is going on, football fans? It is me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL live this time. Joined as always by my main man, Jonathan Holder. Jonathan, what's going on, brother?
Man, it is a wonderful day. We got the schedule. Been looking over that and got some sound bites from some of the rookies. And yeah, it's been a good day today.
Yeah, it had
And
been
it's
it had
Friday,
been fun.
TGIF. So
Right? That right there is worth its weight in salt as far as I'm concerned. Normally we don't go live on a Friday, but we figured we'd have a little bit of fun with the schedule release. We figure if the NFL Network and all them jazz are going to make a big deal about it, then we might as well and come on here and chat about it with y'all. So I guess without much further ado, we might as well just go ahead and get into it. So, like we said before, we the Atlanta Falcons released their schedule, and I'll go ahead and from nope, I hit the wrong button. We're gonna add that to string. Bam, there it is. So we're gonna get into it tonight. We're gonna break it all down. But before we really start breaking it down, I gotta ask you, like, what is your thought? What is like, do you care much about like what the like social media teams put together as far as these schedule release videos? Do you get do you anticipate them? Do you just kind of roll your eyes at them? Do you think they're novel? What do you think?
um, don't really care. Look, if it's a cool one, awesome.
Right.
If it's just it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But I'm not super worried one way or the other about it. I will say I love Blooper, the Braves mascot, and his Twitter. He does a great job
Yeah, he can
with
be
just about
relentless
everything.
at times.
Yes, and so would I love to have a guy like something like that for the Falcons? Absolutely, would love
I
it.
mean, you got Freddie the Falcon, who like whoever runs that Twitter handle, kind of does, or at least tried to be like a little blooperish, but didn't really like hit home.
It just
Uh,
with Blooper, it works.
right.
Whatever you know person is behind that, whether it's the actual person in the suit, doubtful, or whoever they hired to do it, they are very good at their job,
Yeah,
and not
they do a
everybody's going to
very
be that good.
yeah, they do a very good job as far as that goes. Um, but as far as like the NFL's like release schedule, their social media stuff, this year the Falcons went with a TikTok theme,
Hmm.
which I myself spend way too much time on TikTok. So I actually was like pretty relatively familiar with a lot of the accounts that were they asked to do one of the parts of the schedule. So I
Yeah.
thought that was okay. And okay, Willie just asked, he says, can we explain the Red Stallion stuff? Okay, this is why I'm getting into this social media thing. Because the Tennessee Titans, their idea of like doing their social media schedule release video was they went on Broadway up there in Nashville and showed people, random strangers, NFL logos and had them see if they could name the team. Okay. And so when they showed them, because we play the Tennessee Titans this year, what week is that? That is week 8 on the schedule. Uh, so when they showed them that, the lady said, "Oh, that's the Red Stallions." So she called the Atlanta Falcons the Atlanta Red Stallions. And I,
I don't see how you get that, but
I don't
sure.
either. I have no clue. And then in whatever you thought about the Atlanta Falcons decision on their Twitter, like their social media stuff, yes, it is Red Stallion Nights. uh, they brilliantly went and changed the name, the Twitter name from the Atlanta Falcons to the Red Stallions, and I thought that was just absolutely great. And I think I'm gonna really like Redbird Eagles, says he's gonna lobby for the backfield of Algier, Patterson, and Robinson to henceforth be known as the Red Stallion backfield. And I think I am totally down for that. We need to start a campaign to get the backfield name the Red Stallions, because uh I thought that was pretty good. That was pretty funny.
I
I do
would
have
if it takes a smarter man than me because I can't think of it right now.
uh
I would love to have the Red Stallions, but like have it be a play on like the Italian Stallion.
oh yeah, yeah.
But it'd be something with the Falcons or at the South or Atlanta or something like that.
The
That
closest
would
I came with like a rhyming type situation was the Red Stallion Battalion, but like that doesn't that's not super catchy.
doesn't quite. It
I
sounds
can't
like it sounds good, but it's just a little wordy.
Yeah, it's mouthful. It's mouthful. I admit it. Anyway, so like my favorite one past 2 years running was the uh yeah the Red Stallion Knights is yeah, there you go. Put a K in front of that one. Good job. Um, anyway, uh, was the San Diego no, not San Diego, L.A. Chargers.
Yep.
Uh,
They did
they
the
2
anime one, didn't they?
yeah, 2 years running, they did the anime, and I can't be mad at that. That's pretty slick. They do a real good job with that. All right, but
To be honest, I didn't watch anybody. I might have seen like clips of the Sandy or I'm doing myself the
uh-huh.
L.A. Chargers. I might have seen it like a clip or two of it, but I haven't sat and watched. I literally didn't care what anybody else's team's thing did.
I didn't
Uh,
watch all of them. There was a few that if like people were commenting on, um, then I went and checked it out. Apparently, the Arizona Cardinals one was really bad. Um, the Minnesota Vikings did something similar to the Titans, but they did it with like children of the team. Uh,
mm.
yeah, yeah. Something
Oh,
they call them the Lightning McQueens.
So I did see a tweet I guess it was yesterday at some point. I saw somebody's like like from now on the way that what the NFL needs to do is every season before the season starts they need to just go to random people on the street and have them give them the logo and say what's the name of this team based on the logo, and then that whatever that person says that's the name of the team.
Oh yeah,
And I was trying to figure out like why was that, and so
and that's yeah the
I
Tennessee
didn't know
Titans.
that was the Viking thing or the Tennessee thing
Yeah,
or
it was
whatever.
both. All right, so let's kind of get into the actual schedule here.
The schedule.
The schedule. All right, we're gonna start off in what's going on, James?
Oh,
What? I said, what's up? What's going on? What's good? We're
what's
sitting here
going on,
talking.
James?
We're talking football.
We
That's what
are.
we do. We're talking schedule, the most exciting, important thing of the day. Anyway, so y'all can see my cursor here, which is great. We start off with the preseason, so we get to know our opponents. Seems like because of location, like we always end up playing the Dolphins, which makes sense. This one's away, so the boys will get to play down there in the Miami Heat. But
Yep.
then, unlike last year, we get 2 preseason games,
Woohoo.
which is great. Like everybody's woohoo, whatever. But I'm going to one of them. That much I
Well,
can guarantee.
if you look at it this way, they go into camp, then they travel to Miami,
Yep.
play Miami, then they come home and they basically don't leave for a month.
Yes, that right
So
there is
they
beautiful.
really get a chance to like now you can say whether or not it's a good thing, bad thing, what have you, but like they really get a chance to get into a routine,
Exactly.
like a really solid routine, week in and week out for a full month. And then the first two don't count, so you can kind of figure out your
What you're
way.
doing there. Yep.
And then,
I like that stretch because
yep.
for the last few years, we've been doing a lot of like home away, home away, home away type stuff. So to get a stretch like this where it's all home, especially with a basically a new starter as your quarterback, I think that bodes well. You get Mighty Mouse right out the gate.
Well, I
Like
mean, technically, Dalton is the starting quarterback. We'll see if that holds.
we'll see. I mean, you trade up. it's hard for me to think that Carolina's not going to start Bryce Young, but there's a good possibility that you got Bryce Young right here, right? And I
My
also
guess.
think, good Lord, my dogs are
Hey
going
puppy.
nuts. Yeah. My
Uh,
daughter's home and my dog decided to go nuts. Anyway,
I
uh,
I think it probably hinges on how well their O line is playing as to whether or not he gets in.
right.
If their O line is holding up in preseason and they feel good about it, and what they're seeing in practice makes them feel good about the O line, maybe he starts. If, however, that O line is looking like a sieve in
Maybe,
preseason,
yeah, maybe.
you sacrifice Dalton to the football gods, and you hope that your O line gets better. And once it starts to play better, then you maybe move on to Bryce. Would be my thought.
No, yeah, I think so. I'm hoping that it's Bryce because I want it to be welcome to the NFL Rook going up against, David Onyemata, Calais Campbell, the, big offensive line, Grady Jarrett, or big
Mm-hmm.
defensive line. So I truly hope that it is Bryce so that way we can set the tone early as far as uh, the being in this division. Like Chris says here, pin those ears back and let the dogs eat. Exactly.
Yep.
Um, hold on here. Tony's saying something. What's happening, fellas? Do you realize that our defense will play mostly against young quarterbacks with our revamped and new and improved defense? Yes, we're definitely going to get into that.
Yeah.
Now, you get the next game you get, next home game. So it's 2 home games in a row that you get to open up. The next one you get is Jordan Love. He's fully their starter,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not like a rookie starter, right?
No.
He's been there now for 3 years. This is his 4th year. He should
Yeah.
know what to do. He should know what to expect. They still have a pretty good defense, but this is the first year without Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. I mean,
So,
he basically has the same path to the NFL that Rodgers did. Rodgers came in, uh, sat for 3 years behind Favre. Favre didn't lift a finger to help him, but and then next thing you know, he's the starter and he like blows everybody away. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be that, but that's the same trajectory. So we'll see.
yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. Then you go on the road for your first road game is Detroit. That's going to be a tough game, like
Yes.
straight up. The Detroit's a tough team. They are building a tough brand up there. I'm not going to sit here and try to do wins and losses every night, or tonight rather. Woon, we appreciate you greatly there. You got a second. Hey, he says, "Rise up, pound for pound family. Let's get it. Time to compete. We are getting ever closer. We are
Yes, we
definitely
are.
getting
Appreciate it,
ever
Woon.
closer. Yeah, thank you very much, Woon. Um, so anyway, this is going to be a real good test here because they got a good O line, they got a good D line.
Yep.
They've added more weapons. Jameer Gibbs, and so this will be a really good test. I think. I
I
think these two are going to be a better test than we think.
Yeah, and Detroit, like I can almost depend. Look, let's say everything kind of goes according to plan for both Detroit and Atlanta first 2 weeks. Not saying we win both games, they win both games, anything like that. But let's just say the offense kind of looks like what we thought it was going to look like, or what we hope it looks like, and the defense looks like we hope it looks like, and the same thing on the Lions side, right? I'm pretty sure the like one of the bigger storylines is going to be RB1 versus RB2 draft. Jameer Gibbs versus Bijan Robinson and so forth and so forth. So that'll be interesting to see how that the stories that are brought up for that.
Right. Then we go across the pond,
Mm-hmm.
take on Jacksonville in London. They're
9:30 a.m. That's
oh
just
yeah, right.
wrong. That
I
is
mean,
not that is not the right time to be playing football.
hey, at least in my estimation, at least it'll be done early in the day, and we can get on to just watch it because this is a playoff team from last year. Uh,
Yep.
this will be second year of Trevor Lawrence underneath Doug Peterson, and so I don't expect this to be the same old Jags. Plus, this is a Calvin Ridley revenge game.
Yep.
You know, like so that's going to be interesting.
Or you could also look at it as a Arthur Smith revenge game. Like, man, you quit on us. What are you doing?
Yeah, you could. All right, then we get into another back-to-back home games, which again, good to see. Both of these very winnable. You know, rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud, uh, Sam Howell. They got a good defensive line. They're still trying to build.
Yep.
So, you know, both of those are winnable games. There's a lot of winnable games on this schedule.
Yep.
So
Including the next away game.
right, the next away game, like you're looking at Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, and I hate it for. I say hate it. I don't hate it for Bucks fans, but like Todd Bowles shouldn't be like giving anybody any real confidence as a HC.
No.
Uh, Last year at times it looked pretty rough, even with Tom Brady in there. So I can't remember who their new OC is. I know it's not Byron Leftwich anymore. So you're still going to be like adjusting there. So that'll be interesting to see. But and that's our what second division game by
Yeah.
week 7. So hopefully you win both of those, and you're 2-0 in the division. Let's see what you got here, Tony. He says we play Bryce Young. Okay, you're just listing all the quarterbacks. Yeah.
Dave Canales.
Canales. Yeah, I don't know much about him. All right. Then we get into home away or like away, home, away, home, away, home.
So we have that's 2 straight away games. So we had Tampa Bay away, then we go to Tennessee away.
But here in between Arizona and the Saints is our bye.
I like
So
it.
which is really good because normally after you come back from the international game, you take a bye. So the fact that we're not having the bye so early in the season, we're having it more in the midway point is pretty good to me.
Yeah, I would much rather have it. I'd rather have it like in the middle, or in this case, it's closer to like 2/3 of the way through the season. I'd
Right.
rather have it there than have like a week 4, 5, 6
Yes.
bye week, because let's say you get off to a hot start, then it kind of
Peters
the
out
momentum
some.
kind of gets a break in it. Here, you get a chance to get rolling, hopefully in the season. And if you do start off to a hot start, you get to build that momentum. And then by the time you get to week 11, everybody's tired, everybody's hurting, everybody's got aches and
Needs a
pains, all that
break.
other
Yep.
stuff. And this allows you to rest up and get ready for that final push to the end of the season.
Right. And that's something that's a good spot for our bye coming off of a pretty like decent little like pretty gnarly little stretch from the Bucks. So you got 2 away games, the Bucks and then the Titans. Both have a good defense.
Yep.
You know, then you roll into Minnesota, which is still a good team.
I mean,
Like
they got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison.
right.
And Kirk Cousins, is he the best quarterback in the league? No. Is he like a elite, quote unquote, if you want to use that term, is he that kind of quarterback? No. Is he a quarterback that for sure can beat you? Absolutely.
Right.
He could beat you. He could beat anybody on any day. And if their
And
defense is playing good, and if Jefferson and Addison are on, that's going to be a tough game.
and it's not a primetime game. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't get the luxury of Cousins potentially choking. So
Yep.
um, then you move into Arizona right before the bye. So you go out west and then you come back on the bye. So that's
Yeah.
pretty good there. Don't know if Kyler Murray will be back by then. It'll be interesting. But if he is back by then, I would imagine that it's like still pretty fresh. Uh, so and you're getting used to yet again a new coaching staff. So again, winnable
Yep.
game. All right, coming off the bye, I think New Orleans is on their bye as well. So coming
Well,
off
that
the bye,
sucks.
yeah, you get a fresh New Orleans, but you get them at home.
Yep.
So a little bit of a prove it game for Nielsen, like he's used to going up against uh, Lombard or what is that guy's name? their OC. I'm blanking on his name. Is it Marty?
Uh,
No, it's not Marty.
Carmichael.
Carmichael. Carmichael.
Yeah,
I mean, you've gone up against Carmichael for 4 or 5 seasons, so you should like have some answers there.
yeah.
Now, go up to the Meadowlands up there and face Aaron Rodgers emerging from the dark.
In
I'm
December.
Yeah, I am going to be very interested to see like what at that point in time, what does the Jets team look like
Yeah.
with Aaron Rodgers and all of his friends up there catching passes.
And the crazy thing about that team is like Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to come in and be like the Aaron Rodgers of old. That unless something dramatically happens or some weird twist of fate happens, that defense is going to be real good. And so he's not. It's not like he has to go out and win 35-33 or anything like that. If he scores 21 more points in a game, I'm going to guess I'll even say 24. If he scores 24 or more points most games, they're going to win a majority.
Probably. But then again, last year, I know saying on the show like when Ryan went to Indy, we were like, oh, he's finally going to a team that had a defense and a run game and an O-line, and they completely crapped the bed.
Yeah.
So who knows, right?
Well, I mean, now it's like now the Jets have got like the Jets have no excuses.
No, they really shouldn't.
Before this year, it's always been, oh, well, it's the Jets.
Yep.
They don't have a quarterback, whatever. Now it's like, okay, you went out and got some weapons. Your defense is really good, or should be, at least on paper. If it plays even if it just plays just like it did last year, should be a good enough defense.
Right.
And now you have Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
So now if they don't start off to a hot start, get off to a good start, now you're not dealing with Green Bay media.
Now you're
New
dealing
York media.
Yep.
With all the expectations that are now piled on top of that team, can they sustain, can they get past a rough start and not let that pressure of that New York media grind
build? Yep. That's going to be interesting. Then we get into the last stretch of the season. You got, which I find it interesting. As of right now, we have no primetime games.
Yeah.
We don't have a Thursday night game. We don't have a Monday night football game. We don't even this like 4:00 spots only because we're on the West Coast.
Yep.
This is their 1:00 spot. So this isn't really even a primetime game. But as you'll notice here, Carolina and the Saints are to be determined.
Yep.
They're leaving these open to be flexed into deeper spots or more engaging spots.
Yeah, because could be Thursday night, could be Sunday night, could be Monday night.
Right. And this could be like, especially when you get to here, if you're fighting for the division, which a lot of people think that it's going to come down to Atlanta and the New Orleans. So if you're fighting for a division, this is almost certainly going to be flexed into a more primetime spot.
Yeah.
And depending on how Carolina's season is faring, this easily could be flexed into a primetime spot as well.
Yeah, and it could be flexed into, maybe not Sunday night. I consider Sunday night to be like the premier game of the week.
Yeah. It's what Monday night used to be.
Yeah, I know, but even if Monday and Thursday is like literally the only game of the day is that game, Sunday night I think is the game.
Yep.
Like that holds the premier status. So maybe we don't get into a Sunday night game. Maybe it gets flexed to Thursday. Maybe it gets flexed to Monday night. Even if the Falcons and Panthers aren't like blowing it up record wise, but if the rookies, the Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, if those two guys are doing really good, you would expect that if that's the case, that both of the teams would probably have decent records. But but either way, even if those, as long as those guys are showing some electricity, showing some excitement, showing some big plays, even if the overall team is a little not quite matching that, I can see that getting flexed into a Thursday night or Sunday or a Monday night, just to try to show off the young kids, the
Oh
young
yeah,
guys.
for
So,
sure. So so you come off the to be determined Panthers game and you roll into home against Indy and Anthony Richardson,
yep.
and then away against Justin Fields and the Bears.
So
Like,
I would have preferred to get like if we're playing Indy this year, if we were going to play them, I would have preferred to have played them earlier in the year.
yeah, I gotten
But
into where maybe Richardson's still trying to figure it out, and
yep.
like who knows? I mean, he's still a rookie quarterback. So as we
Hell,
started
he
off,
may not even start this year.
right? You never know
So,
because they got Jacoby Brissett. Don't know where is he at? He might be in Indy. I'm not sure. Anyway, so as you start off the season with 2 home games, you finish the season on the road. So uh, that'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. But very like winnable season, as far as you should be able to get 9-10 wins. I would think. I'm looking for this to be Arthur Smith's like first winning season.
yes.
That's kind of
But,
my floor.
by the way, it's Gardner Minshew.
Minshew, that's who they're. I couldn't remember
Yep.
where Brissett ended up. Um,
A lot of people thought he was going to end up in here,
oh yeah,
but he did
yeah,
not.
yeah, yep. So for the most part, like we're on record as having like one of the easiest schedules for who we have to play. With a lot of teams that are in flux. Such as the Cardinals, uh, our entire division. Yeah,
Blizz, yeah, I could absolutely see that happening.
Chris is getting on me. He says I'm playing it safe. I always play it safe
Yep.
until I see this team on the field.
Yeah.
Like you won't get a real like prediction out of me until like week 3 or 4. Like to be completely honest, because I want to see what the live hitting. Now, a few years ago, Arthur Smith's first season, I was like very optimistic until I went to preseason and saw that offensive line. And I said, oh God, we're in trouble.
Yep.
And we were. So if I come out of the preseason going, oh God, you know, as I will say throughout the whole offseason, I reserve the right to change my mind.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I still think with the talent that we have brought in, that a realistic goal should be a winning season, which is 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen some tweets out. One tweet specifically. I think it might have been Grits. It was like, this year there's no excuses. It's playoff or bust. And I think if you have a winning season, there's a very good chance, especially in the NFC. I think there's a very good chance you can make the playoffs.
right,
But there's been seasons where, even in the old 16 game season, there were teams that would win 10 games and still wouldn't make it.
right,
It happens. Like sometimes it happens like that. So if we come out of this season 10-7, I will say that's a success whether we make the playoffs or not. Because if we didn't make the playoffs, then the other teams, there was just a bunch of good teams or teams that won enough games above us, and that
right,
happens. 10-7, I would be happy with, because that's, we're not 7-10 again.
right,
It's progression. And again, just like for me last year, would I have did I expect us to be like playing for a potential playoff spot, the next to last week of the season? No, absolutely not. But was I expecting 6 to 8 wins? That's about what I was expecting. But what I wanted to see, and I did see last year, was the progression. The get like we went from a 7-10 season the year before, getting blown out of a lot of games, to a 7-10 season where we played a lot of teams close. We were extremely competitive against, and a lot of it against some pretty tough teams. And so that's what I was looking for. And as a Falcons fan, who has been a Falcons fan for many, many, many years now, I am not going to sit here and say, it's playoffs or bust, it's this, that, and the other, because I know that if I put my expectations up that high, I do nothing but allow myself to fall even further.
Oh yeah, for sure,
and so for me, I just want I want us to be able to at least do what we did last year, where we're competitive, we're in every game. But I think even if we play in that same style and a lot of the games the same way, as far as just making sure we're not getting blown out, making sure we're staying in games and stuff like that, I think that just the overall raising of the floor of talent that we have done in the offseason is going to lead to some more of those one-score games that's going to tip the balance to us. And I think that's so last year where we missed out on probably a good 3 or 4 wins, like we could probably get, if it's 4 wins that we lost out last year, those same games this year, I think we pull out at least 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so if we do that, then we're looking at a 10-7 season. If we just pull out 3 out of 4 games that we would have missed last year. And there were probably another 2 or 3 on top of that. So 5 or 6 games last year that we could have or should have won.
Yeah, we only lost 1 game by double digits last year. And if I can find the tweet, I'll pull it up and show you. Ghost Pepper had a good statement. He says, "What's good, Falcons fam? 10-7 or 11-6 floor if there are no injuries. We won 7 games last year with an XFL roster and Mariota at QB.
Mary Overthroda.
Yeah, Mary Overthroda. Try not to dogpile on him, but we've done enough of that. But he's not wrong. And let's see. I think it was Miles Garrett. Let's see if I can get it pulled up. Because he had a real good point as far as like the amount of wins. Probably not going to be able to find it. But anyway, it was like there was only 1 game that we lost last year by double digits, and that was to Cincinnati.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we do have a troll in here trying to.
Yep.
But that's fine. Whatever. Like if you're a Panthers fan or whatnot, then like you hope what y'all did was the right move, and then we'll figure, like, time will tell. And
like personally, if I had been Carolina, the guy I could be completely wrong about this, and it may come back to he may prove everybody wrong on this. It wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But the guy I was most afraid of Carolina picking was C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
that was the guy I was more scared of.
There are a lot more things, in my opinion, that you have to overcome with Bryce Young than you did with C.J. Stroud. Like there's things that, like, whether his processing wasn't great or what have you, but there was ways to scheme Stroud to be like to take advantage of his like precision passing. And so I'm with you. He was the one that I was worried about. But hey, man, we could be proven wrong. We could be hating the fact that we have to face Bryce Young, twice a year. So time will tell. Like
we had to play Breeze twice a year. We've had to play Brady twice a year. Exactly. We've had to play in his prime
Cam Newton twice a year. Although we pretty much had their number the last pretty much after their Super Bowl season, starting in the Super Bowl season, like when we beat them to break up their perfect season, which was an unbelievable game. I loved it. But basically, when we broke up their perfect season, I think from that point on until like for the rest of the time that pretty much up until last year, we pretty much like handled Carolina. We had their number for quite a few years. Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, because Josh has got a good point down here. He says if their O-line holds up, Bryce Young is going to be a stud. That's the thing is like there's caveats. There's caveats that you have to make with all of them. So I'm not even going to sit here and try to act
Yeah.
like, because like Johnny says, oh, Ritter's not great. You can't definitively say that right now. I
Yeah.
get where you're coming from, but you can't definitively say that. You have to make caveats for everybody. At least like very few quarterbacks do you not have to make a caveat about. So I'm not going to sit here and try to split hairs, at least not tonight. We got plenty of time this whole offseason to, do all that. But Millie says, JR, I don't care who we played this year. I think we strapped enough now to beat anybody. Playoffs, here we come again. Hopefully, like that's yes, we are strapped, but some of the same points that I've made about some of these other teams, I have to make about us as well. You're rolling in a new defensive staff
Yep.
and you're bringing in a lot of new defensive players. The question is, how quickly are they going to be able to gel? And how
Mhm.
quickly are they going to be able to get up to speed and start being effective? How many years have we watched the Browns bring in talent upon talent? Heck, breaking news, the Browns just traded for Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
So they're pairing Zadarius Smith with Myles Garrett, right? So talent on talent is great, but if it's not deployed correctly,
Hmm.
if they're not put in the position to succeed, then like talent only takes you so far, right?
I yeah. I don't know how many times I've watched an NFL season start. I've watched a team. You say you pick just about any team. You they pick up a new defensive coordinator. We'll do this real quick.
Who?
Appreciate it, Joe. Yeah. My concern is Ryan Nielsen has not called plays. That's the X factor for me. Can he put it together?
Valid.
That
It's a
kind
valid
that
question.
that kind of sort of leads into a little bit of what I was about to say, which is I've seen so many teams that had horrific defenses the year before. In some cases, like literally, like like NFL record breakingly bad defense, and they go into the offseason, they change their defense coordinator, come out the next season, and that defense is completely turned around, is completely like a different team, and it's it goes from being like one of the worst defenses to, if not the best, they're like in that neighborhood, right? They're in the top
Right.
5, top 10 defensive wise. I've seen that so many times. I've never seen it with the Falcons.
Right.
Never seen it. And I want that to be us so bad. Uh, and I've talked about it here before. Uh, I want the Falcons. We've had really good offenses. Like we've had really good, like historically good
Right.
offenses here before, and we had one just a few years back. I've had that. I've never once, probably the closest I can come to saying that. Uh,
Sorry. He's just
uh,
checking in from Long Island. I always
hey,
like when,
how is Long Island?
yeah, long,
Exactly.
islandy. No, I'm
No,
just
it's actually short. It's short. It's like 12 big guy tiny.
kidding.
Uh, but probably the closest I could think of having a good defense, not an opportunistic defense, not a
Right.
whatever. A good defense is the 1998 season. The
Right.
year we beat Minnesota. Like we had a legit. It wasn't the best defense in the league, but we had a legit good defense that year. That's probably the last time I remember a legit good defense for this team. And I want that more than anything right now. I want a good defense that can go in, hit people in the mouth, stop people, not just like,
Right.
oh, we're going to hold you to field goals. No, I want to be able to stifle people. That's what I
That's
want.
it.
Do I think that's going to happen this year? I don't know.
Well, I mean, we got a good chance in the sense of like you got, Tony Wright has put up a list, like of what we should be rolling out there. And that's like, that doesn't add the depth. That's the
Yeah.
what is a projected starting lineup. Like, so
Yeah.
um
But
it's
if you look at those that starting lineup, I'll put it up there again real quick. If you look
Yeah.
at that, the guys that I will be like, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to get from Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Lorenzo Carter, AJ Terrell, and Jesse Bates. So
Right.
the guys from this, if this is the starting lineup, the guys I'm interested in: Troy Anderson, does he take that next step? Arnold Ebiketie, does he take the next step? Jeff Okuda, Richie Grant, can those guys step up? And especially for Okuda, can he step up and actually start playing like the number 3 pick in the draft?
Right.
Caden Ellis, this guy is now a starter. You
Right.
know,
He's getting
and
paid starter money. Like,
he's getting paid starter money. Can he give us those at least the same sack numbers as he got last year?
Right.
Or can we expect a little bit more out of him? You know, those are the question marks. But I think if the guys that I know what I'm getting out of them, if they play what we're capable, up to what we know they're capable of playing, then I think that bodes well for everybody else not having to be spectacular. They just have to do their job, play their role, and make plays when they have the opportunities to.
Right.
That's really it.
D Sloan says, what's going on, fellas? It's going to be a great season. I see we don't have any primetime games, but we could use that to our advantage and to rest and stay healthy as we can throughout the season. I'll say this, the not having a short week and doing a Thursday game, I don't think the players are going to be mad about. Even if you get the 10-day on the back end of that, I don't think the players are going to be mad at that at all. But, like we were saying earlier, with the week 15 and week 18 game not being set yet, if we're truly in contention, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if one of those two gets flexed into a primetime spot.
Yep.
Let's see. All right, I'm gonna give you this bait one time. Okay, this is what you're gonna do when Brian Burns comes for you. I'm gonna stick Caleb McGarry, Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, and whoever else in front of him, along with chipping him with Keith Smith and BJ Robinson and Parker Hesse, and you got plans. You can game plan for a guy. So that's why you got to have more than one. And that's why you got to have, a full complete team, because you can game plan for a good pass rush. You can throw into the teeth of it. You can screens, all that other jazz.
I remember
hopefully,
when the
hopefully we did. We'll see.
I mean, we had probably a top. I'd probably say overall we had a top 10 O line last year.
Yep. Let's see.
So
curious about something real quick, just because I want to slightly figure out something. Hold on.
I mean, what I'm curious about is how are they going to how is Carolina going to scheme in a step stool for their quarterback in the middle of the game?
Now we ain't taking shots just yet. Okay.
Hey, I always take shots at Carolina.
All right, so
especially New Orleans. I want an Aints fan to come up in here. I pray we get one in here.
I will say this, Johnny. I will say this. You say you guys finally built your offensive line, and what you're going to do when Brian Burns comes for you. That was your comments, and that's great. That's your guy. He had 12.5 sacks last year, better than anything we had, but he only had 1 sack against Atlanta. So they seemed to handle Brian Burns last year pretty good. So I'll say that. But let's see. Billy has a good point. He says, Dupree will have either, Carter or Ellis' spot by the end of the season. That's a hefty call there. But if Dupree can stay healthy, which has been his biggest issue, he is proven to have double-digit sacks before in his career. So maybe he can rekindle that if he's not being asked to be the guy.
Yep.
Like as of right now.
Like he went to Tennessee to be the guy.
Right. He was paid to be the guy in Tennessee. And he was not. He was not the guy in Tennessee. So, maybe if he can play a Robin. See, right now, that's my biggest worry is that we still at least don't know if we have the guy. You know, like
Yeah,
CDX is saying, like team defense. It's
yeah,
going to have to be a lot of schemed defense, but the guy you brought in to be your DC, that seems to be one of his caveats.
yeah.
Like Onyemata had five sacks. Caden Ellis
Well,
had,
the
you
and the
know,
good thing
seven.
about that, if you can successfully deploy your defense like that, all right, then that's like if we could legit get 45 ish sacks, like 40 to 45 sacks total for the season. If we get 40 to 45 sacks and the highest sack total guy is probably in the 8-9 range, but everybody else is like 4 here and 5 there and another 5 over there. If we do stuff like that, then what that tells me is like the loss of one guy doesn't kill you.
Right,
If you get 40 something sacks, but one guy on your team is getting 12, 13, 14 of them, like a full or more quarter of your sacks, and he goes down with injury for a few weeks, now like a quarter of your pass rush is just gone.
right.
Just gone.
Like,
So
if you want to talk about the part, like trying to keep this somewhat on schedule, as far as like talking about the schedule, if you want to talk about the part that makes me think that the floor has been raised, it's this right here.
yeah.
And I love when Tony gets in chat. I may not always highlight it because Tony is 9 times out of 10 writing paragraphs to me, not to me, but just in chat. But this is the part that has me excited. The depth of this team is far and away better than it has been in years. You're talking about Taquan Graham, Eddie Goldman, Zach Harrison, D'Angelo Malone, Michael Walker, Dorian Etheridge, Bud Dupree, Mike Hughes, and Clark Phillips. These guys, any other time, that would have been our starters last year or the year before or whatever. Now this is our depth. This is how you raise the floor of your team, right? Is to raise the guys that you don't have to count on. Raise the talent of those guys. Um, so that's the part that has me, pretty excited about that. We didn't get blanked by the Panthers last year, did we?
No.
I don't think so. Somebody have to y'all gonna y'all gonna make me fact check because my brain don't work well. I don't have an ironclad memory like some folks do. I want to say that somebody's going to correct me. I thought we beat the Panthers the first time around.
We did, because remember it was they came back,
Yes,
tied it with that
37-34. That was that weird
they
play at
tied
the
it
end.
they tied it with that
Yeah,
the our defense being stupid and giving up a Hail
right,
Mary
right.
essentially.
Get exactly like
And
letting
and
guys
then
get
they got
behind them.
that penalty.
Right. So
Yep, the
yeah.
guy got
So
the
anyway,
penalty.
yeah. Thank you, Johnny. We appreciate you being in here and chatting with us. But come on now. Oh man. All right. So quickly as we start to wrap this thing up, I'm over here thinking that we're gonna have a short show, and I'm looking at it. We're 10 minutes into it, away from an hour. I blame you, Jonathan. All right. Anyway, so we first got like our first like signs of or sights from rookie minicamp today, and you got a pretty good quote from Bijan Robinson, which is like right now I'm going to call it uh, unless Ritter just comes in here and lights it up. I can bet you that freaking Bijan Robinson, they're positioning him to be the face of the franchise.
Yep.
So I'm trying to find. I had that quote pulled up, and I was like, "Oh, I followed the guy, so this shouldn't be hard to find." That was a mistake on my part.
Yep.
Anyway, okay,
Always a
I'm
mistake.
just I ain't gonna read it verbatim. It'll be okay. And it was a quote from Bijan Robinson talking about like how Arthur Smith in his first days he was being used lined up everywhere. You know, catching passes, running routes, blocking. doing like and running the ball, doing all the things, which is what what you drafted him at 8 overall, calling him an offensive weapon, all those things. So it's good to see that on his first day, that's the expectation for him.
Yeah.
And, already being said that he's going to be coached hard, you know. So that's, that was exciting to see. Uh, Jordan Schaefer, last year's 7th round guard that we picked up from UGA, was seen looking like trimmer and like slimmer, looking in like better shape, moving better.
Yep.
So that's good to hear.
Yeah,
Maybe he,
I think it was Jarvis Davis. I think he was the one that I saw tweeted out. He said he looks more like 310 than like 330 or whatever he was
right,
last year.
exactly. So I am I'm much more excited about that. Seeing nothing else really, like other than like names like JJ Arcega
Or-
Whiteside,
Yeah,
getting a tryout. That was just like really okay, all right, yeah. I know that's the one position we really didn't address was like wide receiver 2. You could say we did with Mac Hollins or what have you, but seeing Arcega Whiteside getting a tryout was interesting. Uh, some of the XFL guys were there these few days, like Cam Smith and a few other guys. So we'll see if any of those guys get actually invited to camp. So that kind of news should be coming out anytime soon. Or is there anything other than uh is there anything other than like Bijan Robinson? Like, do you have like something that you want to add on that end? You can talk about Bijan if you want to.
no, I'll say this. When it comes to Bijan, the he like when you hear him speak, just the way he talks, uh, and just the how he carries himself. It like as long as he's not a complete, as long as he just doesn't like completely disappoint on the field, like this guy can absolutely be the face of the franchise for the simple fact that he's got just charisma and he's that kind of charismatic guy, and just the way he talks and carries himself is really amazing. A
Yeah.
lot of rookies, even like whether they're highly talented, whether it doesn't really matter. When they come out of college that first year and they're talking, they're not used to talking necessarily to like the media and all that stuff. So they come out and they're like, guys are asking them questions. And they're like, well, I should coach and this, that, but like he's just so well spoken, and I cannot wait to see him just break off some crazy plays this year.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's going to be amazing.
like for me personally, the vast majority y'all know of me and my faith because I don't hide it. I don't try to. And to hear this young man talk about like his belief system, and what he believes in, that's the reason why he wanted to be number 7. Because it is a biblical number for him, and I thought that I really like myself. I really like what he represents.
Yeah,
Uh, as far as a person, as far as like listening to or like reading about like the way he grew up and how he values his family and values the game and things of that nature. It's easy to see whether it's Ritter, and I'm going to keep prefacing that way until we get on the field and really start seeing it. Whether it's Ritter long term or not, I can easily see Bijan being the face of this franchise, barring him just like not being able to finish out, his career, so to speak. So yeah, it is going to be a fun season. A lot of
oh yeah,
things are going to have to go right, but if nothing else, it should at least be fun. And
yeah.
we're getting into the like start of it as far as like getting the schedule released, seeing our rookies at mini camp, uh, seeing the guys like working out on the field. So it's ton of fun. So
Well,
Johnny is making me laugh. I'm enjoying. He's like, he says, "Well, your roster looks better than I thought.
yeah,
Maybe we'll beat the Saints." Look,
yeah,
man, right now, ain't none of us here in the NFC South. Ain't none of us really able to throw stones. Not right now. Like
yeah,
I saw a skit that this guy does talking about like looking, the other three teams in the NFC South, like getting mad at Atlanta for actually like trying to build their roster because acting like, oh, we were just going to coast for a year, and
yeah.
try again. Like one of us was going to, but that, yeah, it makes it right, as far as like it makes sense. Like right now, ain't none
I
of us in a good spot.
I've never said it here on this show, but I know I've told you many times, and I still hold true to this. It doesn't matter whether it's this year, whether it was 10 years ago, or it's 10 years in the future. All right, if the Falcons only win 2 games in the season, and those two games that they win are against the Saints, I will be a happy man for a year. Okay, like at the end of the day, I just want to beat the Saints. If we can beat the Saints, if we can sweep the Saints, beat them both games, convincingly or otherwise, don't really care.
My hooker, my crook.
Heartbreaking style, preferably, because I love to watch. I love to go onto their message board and see all their fans crying about, "Oh, this is the refs did this and this." And I just love, like, I feed on Saints fans' tears. It sustains me. So being able to do that, with that being said, do I want to beat the Saints twice? Yes. Do I want to beat the Panthers twice? Yes. Do I want to beat the Bucks twice? Yes. But none of them measure up to the Saints. And do I want to have a winning record this year? Yes. Do I want to win the division? Yes, absolutely. Do I want to make the playoffs? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm again, I want to see this team. I don't want this team to be a laughing stock. I don't want this team to be the Browns that they've traditionally been for the past few years,
Or the
where
Jags,
they
or
go into games and they're not even competitive. They were getting blown out all the time. They were getting just not even competitive football. They're not well coached. They get a bunch of penalties. That is probably the thing that I've noticed the most about Arthur Smith's tenure here is, yes, we've had some absolute dog poo rosters. Part of that just because of the mess we were in with the cap.
right.
Okay, we tried to put together as good a team as we possibly could with what we had. We had the most amount of dead cap last year in NFL history, so we have not had a very good roster for the last couple of years. But what I will say is, you see this team; they seem to be well coached for the most part. Do they make mistakes and blow coverages? Yes, they do. It happens all the time in every NFL team. But
Mm-hmm.
they're a well coached team. They don't get a lot of penalties. They don't shoot themselves in the foot a lot. They don't. They're usually pretty good about not giving the ball away. They may not necessarily always take it away a ton, but they're not giving it away either in a lot of cases. So, like, to have a well coached, disciplined team is, again, something we really haven't seen a lot of for quite a few years. And
Mm-hmm.
so to have that makes me happy. And as long as I see that, we're being competitive, we're not completely blowing up, shooting ourselves in the foot over and over again, and that's why we're losing, then I'm going to be okay with it. Would I prefer to win more games? Absolutely. But if I see that everything is, that it's being run properly, then I am generally going to be okay with it.
My
But I still, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year, so it doesn't really matter.
my biggest standard has always been, has always said, is like I just want to be competitive. I want to be competitive, and I want to be, um, like in contention. I guess you could say, like if we can be competitive on a week in and week out basis, and not be an embarrassment, then that's my thing. Tony Rice says Atlanta will have the third best record in the NFC South, or the NFC behind San Francisco and Philly. Stay tuned. Quite possible. Like
Yeah,
the NFC is not a juggernaut right now. Like your juggernaut teams are in the AFC. So, like, you easily could. And every year, a team goes from like worst to first, kind of. It's not that big of a swing, but there's always a non-playoff team in the playoffs. So this year, it easily could be us winning the NFC South, or even us being in wild card contention. My biggest thing is just like, I just want the team to be competitive and on the field and be in contention. If you can be in contention year in and year out, that means you have a well-ran organization.
Yep.
And that's what I'm wanting us to get to. We had that for a while, and then it kind of fell off a cliff. Things went south. So now we just need to, hopefully get back to that.
Yep.
All right.
That's all I hope for.
That's it. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this evening. We appreciate everybody who decided to stop by and hang out with us because, something a little different. I think Justin Marshall was there today. I think your undrafted guys were there. So I'm pretty sure that they were there today. I haven't seen any kind of like highlights or anything yet, but yeah, I believe he was there today.
Only highlight I've seen really has been Bijan catching a pass and taking a couple handoffs, and that's pretty
exactly. So like I said, we appreciate y'all stopping by on a Friday night. Normally we don't do this, but maybe we start doing this a little more.
Appreciate it, Jay Black.
Yeah. So we enjoy having y'all in the chat. It helps the show for sure, and that's what we enjoy.
Because we planned on this being half an hour, and then you guys came in and helped us generate content for another half hour. So appreciate it, guys.
On y'all. Cheers to y'all. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan?
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
That's right. And we'll be back live again next Tuesday, and I think we're going to have a guest with us. So y'all stay tuned for that. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.